What did you and your esteemed listeners?
How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well. I'm very happy this morning.
You are happy.
Very happy, and it's a dream come true.
A dream come true.
Absolutely. Even if I died today, my kids know that my dreams have really come true. I am so happy.
Are you talking about Mr. Alan Chamante's decision to leave the MPP and go independent?
Absolutely. I mean, you remember a couple of weeks ago, I came onto your afternoon show, Watchy show, and I said if he was going to consult me, I would advise you go as an independent candidate. And lo and behold, yesterday, I never knew he was going to proclaim that he was going as an independent candidate. He did it, and you cannot measure the joy in me this morning. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
Why are you for that idea? Because he could have used a bigger vehicle of the MPP to that. A lot of people believe that will guarantee him a better chance of becoming president and prosecuting the vision that is always talked about. So why would you, a member of the MPP, be in favor of somebody leaving the party to contest as an independent, perhaps endanger the chances of your own party?
So now let me also put it on record that per the NPP's constitution, if you decide to follow an independent candidate, though he has not officially filed, you cease to be a member of the party. I am a law-abiding person. I would not even sit down for the party to write me to come and explain myself that why are you following. So let me say that the moment at exactly 2:35 that Mr. Alan Chamante said he had resigned from the New Patriotic Party and going as an independent, I, Solomon, also see it as a member of the party. And that is for the records. Again, there is history is always there to be made. There is a reason why the constitution of the country does not place much emphasis on political parties, but rather an individual. So yes, if you are standing on a political party's ticket, you stand a better chance of winning, and in the same vein, you also stand a better chance of losing when you are contesting on a political party, depending on how the party is playing or doing its things. In this occasion, the situation of the day, the current developments in this country, calls for someone with that level of integrity, someone with that level of competence, someone with that quality of governance to be able to bring all sides together and then solve the myriad of problems that the country is facing now. Mind you, there is a huge problem we are currently facing. Why do you think there will be Jolobi demonstration? Why do you think every day the youth of this country are crying? Because there are no jobs. And so if you are looking at the both political parties, then the question you ask yourself is, which of them is providing with that luxury or that assurance that given the opportunity, I'll be able to solve the issue of unemployment in this country? When that question is answered, I'm not too sure anybody will be too much fascinated about whether or not Mr. Alan Chamante should have contested on the ticket of the MPP or should have gone as an independent candidate. In any case, he tried his best to contest on the ticket of the MPP, but the MPP itself decided to do everything possible to frustrate him out of the race, and that is why we have ended where we are today.
And I'm also wondering why you chose Alan Chamantin, because you could have picked anybody. And when if it comes to vision, I've also had other visions that sound close to what Mr. Alan Chamantin is proposing. Why did you choose Alan Chamantin to the point that you are ready to leave a party you've worked for decades just so you can follow him in particular?
I signed on to the New Patriotic Party, believing in certain values, just like Mr. Alan Chamantin stated in his press release or press statement. The values that encouraged some of us to move into the party was that we believed in equity, probity, accountability, fairness, and above all, respect for humanity. These things characterize the NPP in its formative years. And so you remember in those days, it was the NDC as a political party that was being accused of being full of tax. I cannot imagine in my lifetime that the NPP has become a party full of tax, to the extent that now we have invisible forces who are pervasive in our political discourse. So, reasoning minds that could shape the political tradition, now do not want to speak out. All of them have been cowed into submission, that they are afraid of their lives for speaking the truth. You do not expect me, who joined this party, knowing the very values we believe in, to continue to be in the party. And so, of all the candidates that presented themselves, I listened to them, and I realized that the kind of things that they were preaching comes nowhere near the vision that the party had in the formative years. And to the extent that Mr. Alan Kyerematen has documented his vision. If you read carefully his great transformational plan that I always refer to, and that is why I'm so passionate about it, it tackles the core values of the New Patriotic Party, what the New Patriotic Party should stand for. Now I can't say same, so I'll use the word should. And so it reminds me of the values that I cherish in politics, and that is why I have decided to move with him. I am not moving with him as Mr. Alan Kyerematen, but I'm moving with him because of his vision, because of the vision that he has, which vision has been documented. And about this vision, he is someone who has also implemented his vision in the ministry that he was given. So it's not as though he's just speaking to theory, but he is a doer on top of that. And that gives me that comfort that, yes, I can sacrifice whatever I've done for this political tradition and to go with him. And I know that today be the 26th of September, you can mark today's date, posterity, and for that matter, history will be so kind to Mr. Alan Kyerematen and those of us who follow him. It is not always about your comfort. It is about shaping the political narrative of this country. It is about letting those that are put in charge of political parties, and here I'm talking about the two main political parties, the NPP and NDC, to understand that we are not ducks that to be following always because you have no other option. No, if you do that, we will sink this country. This business of duopoly in our politics would be broken come 2024. And I believe Mr. Alan Kyerematen represents that hope that the country needs.
Vision can be betrayed. People can espouse a vision and turn around and do something else. You, even though you were MPP and tried your best to sometimes stand up for the party, admits that even the president in office, who espoused quite a vision that everybody thought was taking us somewhere, turned his back on the vision. What about Alan Kyerematen convinces you that if you follow him, the vision you believe he would carry you through, he will do that?
Then I say, if you want to know the worth of a man or the true color of a man, just give the person power. Fortunately, some of us were around when the MPP won power in 2000, the year 2000. And I can tell you that Mr. Alan Kyerematen, the make of Kufuor's cabinet, was formed by him. People do not know that. At that time, his view was that, yes, the private sector is the engine of growth. So he was not interested in taking cabinet position. And indeed, he followed it through. And that made me to respect him the more. Now, it was not too much about the power. In fact, his decision to accept, ambassador to the U.S., Kufuor practically had to beg. Because he thought he had to be in the private sector to help the economy, to relieve the importance of the private sector. And I believe, or I have so much confidence in people who are principled in nature. Now you follow through his life trajectory, what he has been able to do in the political arena. Go and read him carefully. Anything that he said he would do, he did it. Our trade policy, the New Patriotic Party as a party, all our trade policies in our manifesto was written by Mr. Alan Kyerematen. Take your time and go and take it one after the other, and you will see a conscious effort with him in implementing all the things that are captured under our trade policy. And that, for me, gives me that enough comfort to trust in his level of judgment, in his truism to implementing policies. And that's why I have no doubt that given the opportunity, he will have no other option than to implement the very visions that he has put forward.
Now, but is that not risky? Even for Mr. Alan Kyerematen, but I understand Mr. Alan Kyerematen is turning 68 in October. Solomon Owusu is not turning 68 in October. Why bet your political future on a man who may be making this move because this is his last step? If he doesn't do this at this time, he might not have the opportunity again. So you can understand him. But why is Solomon Owusu taking his political future on?
First of all, the political party, the New Patriotic Party, does not really give me anything. Let me say it. What does the party do for me as an individual? It does nothing. But if there is anything, I'd rather sacrifice too much for the party. And so, really, following Alan Kyerematen, whether or not he wins, which I believe he will win, does not change anything. It rather reinforces the point that if you are a human being, if you are a politician worth a talk, you must have certain principles that you follow. The day you throw principles away, that is the end of you. So on the basis of principle, I believe I have to follow him and nothing else.
Do you believe Mr. Alan Kyerematen can win the next election?
Absolutely. See, people are just making fun of the move. I mean, few people do. And those of us that deal directly with the youth, I can tell you, Senna, that expect something seriously happening in 2024. They may laugh. They may think that it's a very Herculean task. But if it can happen in Benin, and in Benin not just once, twice, that an independent candidate becomes a president. If it can happen in Ghana, and for the first time we have a hung parliament, whoever thought it will happen in our parliament? If it has been happening that independent candidates are winning parliamentary seats in this country, what makes it so difficult that a country where we have been talking about sharp division, divisive politics, and you have Alan Kyerematen comfortably placing his face on the ballot, that Ghanaians would not consider it. So for me, it's a matter of time. And now that he has declared his intention, mind you, he said in the coming days he's going to launch officially his campaign. Let us launch the campaign and begin to go to the ghettos, begin to go on the street, begin to go to the churches, begin to go to the schools and talk to them on policies versus the usual toboy of these two leading political parties. I have told you severally that none of these two political parties have shown any vision to the country at the moment. They should come and tell us what they have and why they think their policies and programs are superior to what Mr. Alan Kyerematen is offering. And the Ghanaian will make that informed decisions based on that. So the 2024 elections will not be the usual Shirado. No, Ghanaians are too much tired of that. In a country where you have about 85% of your citizens between the ages of 12 to 35 years being prison inmates, in a country where you have 55% of your election, your voter population being the youth, and these youth are unemployed. If you have these statistics at your disposal, Sarah, I can tell you that 2024 will be a long road to Zion. And you must expect that surprise to happen.
But history does not back up your confidence. Think about it. Charles Rekubobe formed his own party, contested, didn't do so well. Even within the NDC, there are several case studies of people leaving the party, contesting, and they didn't do as well. Independent candidates don't tend to fare well in our elections since the Fourth Republic, within the Fourth Republic since 1992. So where is the confidence coming from when the history shows that once you go independent, your chances become bleak?
So the truth of the matter is that every time and its conditions, the conditions or the periods that you are referring to were not right for an independent candidate. Because you see, the time the Rekugobis left the NPP, that was in the 2000s. The NPP had not actually come to power to express themselves how they could govern and govern well. And so it was very difficult to convince the very people that he wanted to convince, the constituency that he tried to convince. Unfortunately for these two political parties, under the Fourth Republic, the NDC has been in power for 8 years, if I'm not mistaken. As in, no, so 16 years. The NPP is also going to do 16 years. The two political parties, what difference? The question that the youth are going to ask them is, what difference have they provided to their lives? What sort of changes have they brought onto this country for them to reassure them with their votes? This is where the issue of independent candidates becomes so relevant. Because you must explain to the people why they must retain it. For instance, why must the country retain the NPP in 2000 and in 2024? Based on what? And why must the country retain former President John Mahama? As for him, he has been a president before. This is a very weighty question that awaits these two political parties. And for me, the answer to that is what will reflect in the results in 2024.
Address something before I let you go. How come Mr. Alan Kyerematen has left the NPP and is declaring support for parliamentary candidates that will be elected by the NPP?
So the point is that it's simple. He's going as an independent candidate, and he intends to bring the best among the lot. As a president, you need to appoint ministers from parliament. So he wants constituencies that are predominantly NPP to vote for their candidates. And when he gets to constituencies that are predominantly NDC, that is the same thing he's going to do. Because he will need the best materials from these two political parties, from the academia and from the private sector, to be able to prosecute the Ghana agenda. Ours is a movement, and it's a movement for change. We want to change from every negativity that has led this country to where it is now, that has retarded our development. And so it is common. For instance, we cannot go to, say, North Tongue and say you shouldn't vote for the incumbent party when we know that it's a good material. Wherever we go, we will preach that the right candidate be put in place for the development of this country. And let me also assure you that because of what Mr. Alan Kyerematen has done, there will be a lot of independent parliamentary candidates come 2024. Take it from me. In the various strongholds. The signal that we are picking, China, it will overwhelm this country. Because it's like freedom. People have been liberated from this mindset of whatever be the case, whether the party is treating you well or not, whether the party is deviating from its core values. You would have to be with it because there are no options. Now they know that if Mr. Alan Kyerematen, who was a founding member of the New Patriotic Party, who has sacrificed all his resources and life in building this party, can at a point in his life say that I have resigned from a political party and I'm going as an independent candidate, they have met for someone who wants to be an MP. If the party motivates the person and across the political divide, I am telling you, these people are more than emboldened, and that they are only waiting for the process to see whether it will be fair or not. Once they decide to skew things or scheme things in favor of a particular candidate, believe you me, 2024 and 2025 Parliament would have more independent candidates as parliamentarians than ever in this country.
Let me read two messages from those who are okay. This one is from Seydou Shaibu watching us on Facebook. Solo, your Alan was in the same ship with Akufo-Addo and helped him to sink the ship. So what are you talking about? How do you respond to that when it is pointed out that he was a cabinet minister for 6 years with President Akufo-Addo? Whatever he could have done, he could have done then. He didn't.
So let Shaibu understand that there was a reason why I don't know whether I made reference on this show or on a different platform because I've spoken on a number of platforms. For instance, you know the program called One District, One Factory. Alan needed more resources to be able to implement it effectively. It will interest you to note that the amount of money that was invested in that project or in that program was less than 500 million Ghana cedis. However, it will interest you to note that NAPCO, that was just freebies to graduate unemployed, received 2 billion Ghana cedis. That was a cabinet decision. So, and the cabinet decision is made by the president. You go to cabinet as an advisor to the president. Your advice could be taken or rejected. Remember, a party like the New Patriotic Party, its members, majority members, called on the president to remove the finance minister. Remember that issue? Because the power resides with the president, the finance minister is still at post as we speak. So there is a difference between being a minister, and if you are a minister, you are subservient to the president. It's the president that appoints you, and so the power is with the president and not with the minister. The minister, you can send all your proposals, all the things that he said he would do. He needed to use his own ingenuity and credibility. For instance, with the One Nation One Factory, it took Mr. Lanchamate's own credibility to be able to woo the private banks to invest close to 3 billion Ghana cedis to help these companies establish these 1D, 1F. So power is really, the way our constitution is structured, it has given all the power or the powers in running government to the president. And that is why you need a good person who would be able to think and think good for this country to implement all these policies.
And the final one I'm reading to you is Ajovi Crispo City. Please ask Solo if Alan has planted a sugarcane. If yes, where? It's not about writing trade policy. So if you could convince the president, how can they? Okay, so the question to him, I guess she's asking about the Komenda Sugar Factory. And I recall a banter between myself and you on Alaji, where you gave me a definite date that something was going to be done. It was never done.
So I think this is the final question. I'm not too sure the amount of time that you have at your disposal, but the truth of the matter is that the issue of the Komenda Sugar Factory has to be put in right context. This was a factory that was commissioned by the SWAL administration, the John Mahama administration, on the 30th of May 2016. So now you and I agree that when you tell me that you have commissioned a factory, what it means in reality is that you are ready for production. So instead of asking Mr. Lanchimante whether or not he has planted sugar cane, what the tester has to be asking is why is it that former President John Mahama commissioned the factory, yet along the way the factory could not produce any sugar in this country. Mr. Lanchimante only came in to take over a factory that was not running and decided to put it in shape. And to be able to do that, he needed to get a strategic partner. As we speak, that strategic partner has been identified. He has moved to site. It was 98% complete when, at the time he was leaving the place. The rest is for the current Minister of Trade and Industry to be able to continue so that sugar will be produced. Mind you, one of the key problems that Komenda Sugar Factory was facing was raw material, that is sugar cane to feed the factory. So they had to identify farmers to be embarking on that. That stage is where they were before he left. Now he also went ahead to identify a regular supply in India so that they could be feeding the factory with sugar cane to such a time that the sugar cane that will be planted in this country will be ripe for harvesting to feed the factory. These are all documented, and he left it at 98% completion. So anybody that wants to put any blame must first of all blame the one that commissioned it, that could not finish it, that could not produce any sugar onto our market. They should rather go and ask the one who has taken over as the current Minister of Trade how best or how far he has taken it to from the 98% that he left it, and that should deal with the matter.
So Alan has cannot be blamed anyway.
How are you going to blame him when he took over an obsolete factory?
Obsolete factory.
Absolutely.
A newly commissioned factory that you admit.
That was according to the former president.
No, it was. Oh, you are saying that it wasn't working? Obsolete means that it wasn't working.
It wasn't working. The factory wasn't working. And please, you can make reference to the
As in when you put sugar cane in to not convert it into sugar.
It couldn't do so.
Really?
Couldn't do so. I am telling you. And you see, that is one of
when we saw a test run on TV of the factory, witnessed not by Senna Nombo from Radio Gold, by stations that are ordinarily not aligned to the NDC, they watched that test run happen. Sugar cane put in and sugar produced. You are saying that was what?
Sana, did you ever see any sugar cane produced from the Commander Sugar Factory in our market? Did you see any? Did you find any sugar cane produced by the factory? You see, we can be...
but that was supposed to be the job of Mr. Alan Kyerematen once he took over.
No, but the point is that the factory was commissioned on the 30th of May 2016. So if for anything at all, we should have seen sugar in our market representing or coming from the Commander Sugar Factory. Go and read the PricewaterhouseCoopers report on the factory itself. That was when it was identified that the machines that they claim have been put in place were never so. It is not me saying it. It is Pricewater. And that was how come the valuation they gave, the value they gave to the factory was far, far below what had been stated by the PricewaterhouseCoopers. So these are matters that are in the public domain. And as we go along, as Mr. Alan Kyerematen attempts to launch his campaign, so these are some of the issues that we will go back and discuss. And this is where we would expect the National Democratic Congress that claims that they left a running factory to come out with their facts. And we also come out with our facts and figures. And that will mark the beginning of a beautiful election come 2024.
So it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Solomon also is okay. So he is following Alan into the independent reign. It was with him when